Okay, I figured I'd do a quick Scott Gross, more in-depth type review. I don't think I'm gonna do a crystal ball just because I feel like it's a bit biased with me having a horse in the race, I guess. But I'll just run down each team and what I think about their pitches and values. So Kansas, this is a interesting one because he goes very into the traditions aspect of the. I mean, not really a basketball tradition, but like the history more so. So he spends a long time on history, which isn't exactly tradition, but I think it still applies and it's interesting. So he spends a long time here, but doesn't really it's good. It's well written. It is somewhat basic. I feel like everybody like I, I I don't really know how to say it, but I feel like it is a lot of stuff that isn't too unique, but I think he does a good job, like with Rock the Chalk, Rock Chalk or whatever, where that's a good chant. Like the thing with the newspaper, I feel like most schools do that. Cincinnati does it, but I didn't put it into my pitch just because I felt like it took too much space. Um, but yeah, like they do the same thing with the ripping the newspaper up and throwing in the air at the first basket. Um, but yeah, I mean, I think he talks about all the stuff they do. He has the history, but this is the prestige trait, and I feel like to win it, I think it would have been better if he really talked about more like the values on or the traits only 2/3. He doesn't really mention the other 1/3 that is just prestige. So I don't know how the JP looks at that if they know that like he won an NT or something, but I think if he had pitched the actual prestige aside from the trait, it would have been better. Next is the campus life section, where the campus life good, except the trait. Where is it? Um, the trait for campus life is is student government, and he doesn't really. He spends like two sentences on it, one sentence. So I don't think he's winning campus life, even though he does spend a whole paragraph. It's not bad, but it's just not enough. Good transition to zero edu, and he does say a specific class, but I online classes I feel like that's kind of generic. The Google Fiber, I mean, it's cool, I guess. Um, and tutoring, it's fine. I just don't think it goes in depth enough for zero education to win it in this battle. And then last up is playing time, and I think he does a good job with playing time. But I mean, let me read it here. He says he's a big shooter wing and 6'8" when he's actually 7 feet tall. According to the according to height conversions, he's actually 7 feet tall. So it does seem a bit weird that he missed that, which I don't know if that would penalize him at all. But yeah, I mean, I think he does a good job illustrating his role on a more like micro level, I guess, where like his individual play. He can promise a starting spot. I feel like everybody says they're gonna start them. I don't know. Boris Kikanovic, he averaged 27 minutes a game, which I feel like is weird because if I can pull up an export here, Kikanovic, whatever. What the hell? I don't have it open on another tab. Kikanovic, let's go check this out. Big 12. History. I gotta. Come on, man. I hate how you have to do this with ZenGM to see the team's players from the year before when they've declared. Okay, let's go look at Kansas. So Kansas last season, Kikanovic was a 78 overall. Like, yeah, he is. I won't show stats, but he was a 78 overall. Like, I feel like it is weird to say you're going to be giving them 27 minutes a game when last season the guy who did it was a grad transfer, 78. Like, I don't know, seems a bit unrealistic to me. But yeah, I mean, so just overall, I think the pitch is good, but I feel like it doesn't win enough because the playing time is good, not too in depth. The prestige is good. The trait is nice, but he doesn't really hit the actual value of prestige, which maybe could have pushed him ahead. Um, Education is it's good, but could be more. Not enough to win it, I don't think. And campus life just doesn't spend enough time on the trait. So yeah, I mean, you're my guy, Sexton, but I feel like this one might not be it. Next up, Pitt. So Pitt spends a long time on the trait and prestige, and I think it's good. I mean, he's it's a bit more like like telling him what it would be like for him instead of just describing it. With the Oakland Zoo, it's packed, the clock's ticking, what the announcer says, and like kind of putting him in his shoes. Seems exciting. I do think he could win prestige. Maybe I misunderstand how traits work though, because I do think he doesn't mention the actual value enough. Where if he had mentioned, because Pitt's not a prestige slouch, they're just two behind Kansas. If you'd mentioned the, because I think I must be misunderstanding this, or they're just missteps, because it is 1/3 still of the whole value is the value itself if there's a trait. So I do think they could have hit on that and maybe pushed them over. But he spends a long time and the trait's good. I think Kansas has the traditions, but I feel like this is a bit more of a, I don't know, a bit more real, than Kansas was. So I think their traits are close. But I think Pitt just barely goes ahead. I don't know. So he's listed as a center. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of room for playing time. He's the number one on the board. Kind of what everybody can say. I mean, kind of, not really me, but yeah, he talks about how he's going to be used on the offense, develop plays, slashing links were, yeah, I mean, I think it's solid playing time. Zero education. Zero education is a bit, I think it's fine. It is kind of like one-dimensional anecdotal, which could work for him, but just giving like one story of real life, them knowing someone is light, and for a 4 essentially value, it is not a ton of time spent on it. Like tutoring services, yeah, like it's fine. I think the anecdote can help, but I'm not sure if it's enough to win. For campus life, I think he does mention like good campus life things, but it is kind of just like generic. Like through advocacy for policies, you can mold Pitt experience to the best that it can possibly be. It's on slate-based system when students campaign together in the election. Like that is like super basic. Like campaigning, I mean, yeah. The number of prominent politicians, that is cool. I think that is an option. I'm not sure. I mean, the trait is student government, so it can work. I'm not sure if those people specifically have participated in student government even, and this guy's a 5-star, probably trying to go pro, so I don't know if that's the best. It's still cool. Then Melsh, Colorado. His is a good pitch. It's it's like well written. It's weird the way it spends time though, because he spends about, I don't know. Geez, my voice is cracking like crazy today. He spends the first, I don't know, like half of the pitch talking about Willie Kressler, which is cool. I mean, he's talked about his past success, and I don't know. It's a nice writing, but I'm not sure how applicable it is and if it's worth spending that much time. Like he can play like a tall big man, like sure, or that can shoot. So his prestige section, kind of they sing a song. The mascot likes being a pain in the ass. He does mention prestige, which I think the others missed out on. Like, the others didn't even mention it, but I'm not sure if he does enough with the trait, which is why it's a pain, because, like, that's going to be tough to decide prestige, because he does a bit with the trait, and he actually talks about the value, but it's just not that much compared to the whole pages that the other two schools spent. And then for EDU, he talks about a class that's easy, how easy it is, but that's just like one class. Then he gives one another example of a gen ed, but I think just giving two examples of a gen ed, like, it's interesting and it provides context. But I mean, like, if they're gonna be there for years, they're gonna have to take like dozens, maybe not dozens, but like, yeah, dozens of classes if they're there for more than a year. So just saying two and not really talking about any more just doesn't really do much for me in terms of your EDU. And then for campus life, talks about how much money they get, which is cool. Nobody else brings that in their pitch. And yeah, what they do. Yeah, I mean, he also gives an example of a politician, but there's no actual campus life hit in this pitch, and it's just a very short one. So I think it really depends on how the JP interprets this half of the pitch that's spent like talking about his history and comparing it to Willie Kressler, because it is valid, but I don't know how much that says about his playing time that he couldn't have said in like 100 words. It is cool and well written though. And then for mine, I don't know. I don't want to be too biased. Mine's, I don't think it's that well written, but I feel like I hit values decently. So for the prestige, I don't know, the trait, I feel like, especially after reading the others, I didn't spend much time on it. I do include the actual prestige of the school, and that just doesn't help much because we're just not prestigious and my traditions weren't that crazy. So I do think I probably come in last in this. For playing time, I went right in playing time. I think I did illustrate how many minutes per game were gone from big, so he'll get plenty of time. But it does hurt me that I do have two bigs on the team, and I didn't hammer it in that he's going to start. I kind of just said at the end, this leaves you Nick James to start. So I probably should have emphasized more that he'll get good minutes and start for sure. And then here, I kind of go into his role as a player, how two unicorns, how 7 foot tall, good shooters. It's kind of the same thing as the Kressler, to be honest. Just spending a couple sentences on it instead of half the thing on it, which it's not as good, but same idea. And then I go more into just playing time and his role on the team. I tried to say how we're going to be playing a 5-out motion offense, which is trying to incorporate scheme on a more macro level, and describing how that'll help, where he'll get open looks, really good 3-point shooters on the team, all of our players, so the spacing will be amazing. And then I try to say how that'll help the other players on the team too, and how on the defensive ends, their athleticism they'll be able to switch, and yeah, you aren't traditional slow. So I think my playing time compared to the others it's fine. I don't know. I don't think I hit it with the actual playing time very hard. I do think I kind of talked about his role decently, maybe a bit better than some of the other pitches, but I'm not sure I can promise the same kind of minutes, which is rough for the 1.5 value. And then student government, I think I spent a lot of time, kind of some basic stuff with the branches, and then I thought it'd be kind of interesting to look at what bills they've passed. I took a look at some of the bills. They're kind of random, but I thought they were a bit interesting, like caps and gowns to donate, purchasing succulents for the stress relief succulents initiative. Naming some events they're involved in, and also they have this student athlete interview show called the Let's Talk Bearcast, which I thought tied in nicely. Then I also tried to tie it in with actual campus life, with where they meet, and you can grab dinner from Chick-fil-A, or you can stop by a pub and listen to music trivia or karaoke. I don't know. I feel like I did I don't have quite the same like broad um, stuff for campus life where other people kind of said like the money or the number of people or politicians, but I think I did a good job like trying to illustrate what the campus life would actually be like. Um, Aside from that, I think I also it was only a sentence or two, but I also hit on the actual value with the pub and the Chick-fil-A. So we'll see if that's enough for campus life for me. And then zero EDU. I don't know. I like to think of Cincinnati as a pretty good zero EDU school. U.S. News ranking. I explained that I don't think it matters too much, but I think it does kind of lower the floor of university. And then some more just generic stuff kind of about how big our classes are. And then I talk about our student athlete support service that gives us understanding. And there's fun classes. I name some fun classes. And then also explain how he'll need to have major courses too. They also give free stuff that'll help with their education. And yeah, I mean, I think I did a good job, I guess, on zero EDU. I feel like Cincinnati kind of just is a lot worse of a school than Pitt and Colorado. And Kansas didn't really try and nail it home. So I guess if we're going to go back, look through the values, I'm not going to make an official prediction, but playing time, I mean, this is like really tough to be honest to me because we all said they'd start. I guess they'll get more minutes probably at Kansas, Pitt, and Colorado. Although Kansas, I feel like promised way too many minutes. Like, not promised, but they said he'd be getting way more minutes than makes sense with the comparison to a 78 overall. I don't know. This is a really tough one because Pitt does need bigs, and he does explain what he'll do. Colorado is nobody, and I do think he kind of explains his role a little bit. So if I was forced, probably Colorado. I don't really, just because they have nobody on their team, and he's a good. He did a decent job, especially with comparing him to another player. Prestige. This is a tough one. This is so hard because I think Pitt has a slightly better traditions pitch, if I'm being honest, but it's not. Neither of them actually mentioned the prestige of the school, so you don't really know how much that is. Well, Colorado and we both mentioned the prestige of the school, but we didn't say anything about, or our traditions were just generally weaker. I feel like I could have won that if I'd put more into traditions, but I would have had to take from somewhere else. So, I think it really I mean, it's weird where if you look at it as if it's 2/3, if these guys both get the full 2/3 or whatever, and Colorado gets 1/3, but they also get 1/3 for I don't know. I feel like it's between these three though. And then zero education. I think that I kind of go the most on zero education and have the most variety in terms of pitch with the classes that are interesting that some people have, and then I also have more statistical stuff. So I do think that should be kind of in my favor if I want to be generous. And then campus life. Campus life, he didn't really hit on campus life much in the way of the trait. So, I mean, I just don't really think Kansas can win campus life. Pitt has good campus life, but also kind of a bit generic. It's just, yeah, Colorado campus life, same thing, kind of doesn't spend a ton of time, but they do seem to have a good student government. I think I kind of put it more what it would actually be like being involved in student government, and I had a slight talking about the actual like campus life. So I feel like since I put it into perspective like what being involved in student government would be like compared to what these people just kind of describing their own student government, I do think that I take campus life, which puts it in an interesting way because if I think I win 3-0, which if I could be misreading it completely, if I do win 3-0, that puts me, it depends. if someone wins both 5 and 4. I guess I lose. And also, all JP have their own voting methods, so I think me being really low in prestige could hurt me. And if I'm also really low in playing time, I don't think it matters how well I do on education and campus life. But I mean, if I'm looking at the most well-rounded, I think I would definitely give it to Pitt. I mean, Pitt's super well-rounded, strong all around. I do think Kansas is lacking on education and campus life. And then Colorado, I think Colorado's also well-rounded, actually, now that I think about it. So, yeah, I feel like it's between Colorado and Pitt for most well-rounded. I think I have the ones where I think I'm the most ahead in education and campus life out of any of the other ones where playing time and prestige are definitely more ambiguous. I don't know if it too will come down to it, winning and loyalty. I didn't touch on it. I touched on it a bit, actually, in my prestige pitch, but Kansas didn't touch on it at all. Colorado touched on it a little bit. So I'm sorry, Sexton. I do feel like it is a bit of a 3-horse race here. Your pitch is good. It just kind of doesn't match up well, I guess, with the rest of ours, where if we had been focusing more on different values, you would have definitely had a better chance. But I just feel like you didn't hit prestige hard enough. Your playing time, not hard. I don't even know, really. I think you spent too much on prestige for not winning it, maybe. And then, yeah, I mean, this is also I just want to say that this is my opinion. I've been in the league 1 year. I don't think I've incredibly valid. I mean, I haven't been around very long, so I don't think you should. My email's leaked here on all of them. But yeah, I really don't think you should take my opinion that well. I think talking through it kind of makes me feel a bit better, and it is nice to just hear what I think and get my opinion on it to myself in a way. Just makes me feel a bit better than just going in blind and like waiting for the JP to vote. But yeah, I think that wraps up my Scott Gross recruiting breakdown. And yeah, I don't even know how I'm going to post this, but if anybody watches, thanks. I appreciate it.